grandfather was in naval stores that was like Turpentine and Rawson, and with his brother. And there was a lot of family interconnection because in the previous generation there were 3 Bullard brothers who married 3 Joyner sisters, and so there were a lot of double first cousins. And
how does that work?
that made it interesting. Well, people ask that, and genetically they're supposed to be even more closely related than brothers and sisters. And
really?
So yes.
Wow.
And so someone asked me, they said, how closely related is that? I said, it's close, believe me. And when you come into a small town, I had a lady who moved here not too long ago, about 2 years ago, and she said, Mr. Bullard, I understand your family's been here a long time. And I said, they have. She said, do you have any advice for anyone new who might move into this community? I said, I do. I said, don't talk about anyone. I said, because you may be talking to their cousin, sister, and you may not even know it. I said, so if you say anything, just say, you don't have to say they're nice. I said, you have to know someone a good long while to say whether they're nice. When people ask me, well, are they a nice person? If I haven't known them very long, I say they're pleasant. You know, because there's a vast difference between pleasant and nice. And so, but I taught here. I was born here, and I've enjoyed living here with its bumps and warts and with its glory. It's been wonderful.
Because I've found that the life and the culture, and probably true of a lot of small towns, but particularly true for White Springs, is very vibrant and very alive if you choose to get involved. It's not like you can walk out of your door and have 25 restaurants to choose from, but if you get involved in the community, you might get 25 invites for dinner over the course of a month. So I found it to be a very vibrant and alive community. And that goes hand in hand with its history, because White Springs is kind of unique amongst towns in Florida. It was Florida's original tourist destination. And I could talk about that in some length, but I think what's really interesting is that people came here at the turn of the century for the healing waters of the spring, for the nature, for the environment, for the genteelness that existed here, for the comfort, all the hotels and everything of that matter that was here at the time. And then as years went by, various different things happened and the scene changed. And in the 1960s, they built the interstate, and a lot of traffic started to bypass White Springs, and White Springs kind of dried up. And this was very sad from an economic standpoint, but from a cultural standpoint, things changed in terms of having a lot of outside influence before we lost the feel of who we are. Before we were overwhelmed by the outside world kind of passed us by for a while. And they'd be going down I-75 to Disney World and places like that, and here we were. Well, now we're enjoying this resurgence of people that come here for the same reason, because they appreciate the traditional values, the culture, the nature, the river. We don't have the spring anymore, and don't get me started on that, because that was Florida's first magnitude mineral spring, and it was an economic resource and just a wonderful bounty of nature, and it's a shame that it's gone. But we're working in an environmental direction to try to address what we still have and make sure that we preserve it in the way of the nature and the ecology and the environment, and also with our history and with our culture.
The moment I crossed the bridge and crossed the Swanee River, this was home to me. There was no way I was moving off to the big city. Mm-hmm. So awesome. Here I am. This area has been an area where people have lived off the land, starting with the Timucuans. The Timucuans were the earliest settlers here in the 1700s. They were found along the river, and they're the ones who gave the river the name Swanee. It means River of Echoes, and I don't know if you've captured that in any of your interviews, but in the 18th century, Seminoles and Anglo-Celtic settlers and African Americans came into this area, and Seminoles lived along the river. They gardened, they lived off the land. They got fish from the river, venison out of the woods, wild turkey, and that you still see that today. This is a big hunting and fishing culture here. And so wild is just part of the diet. People who have lived here where the Swanee River is, it's part of their blood. It's like an artery that runs through the land. It's been so important, not just for the food that it's provided, but for the recreation, if you will. This has always been a healing ground. I felt it when I first moved here. The spring was always considered a healing ground by the Native Americans, and there would be no war within a certain radius of that spring. So you could see Native Americans that had been fighting earlier, perhaps, soaking in the coolness of the spring and letting their, just relaxing and healing. There was a boneyard here in the 50s. Do you know what a boneyard is?
Only as it relates to like elephant tusks.
Okay, that's not that kind of boneyard. A boneyard was a practice that many Southern African Americans kept, and they would hang bones from the trees.
Oh, and what did that do?
It kept away evil spirits. And we had a wonderful boneyard here in White Springs, and it was gone before I came, but it was called Aunt Aggie's Boneyard. And I believe there are some postcards still with pictures of that on there. There is a very blurry photograph of the boneyard at the town hall.
What kind of bones?
Cow bones, deer bones, hog bones.
Animal bones, just all kinds of bones.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Jaw bones, leg bones.
Wow.
It came times after I got up to be a young man and I got married, and I think I had 3 or 4 children. I was working for a man had a turpentine camp. I don't know whether you know nothing about all that or not, but
What's it called?
turpentine. We was working.
Not working?
We was working turpentine, that chipping boxes that they had. I don't know whether y'all know anything about it or
No.
not.
Could you explain a little bit more? A turpentine?
Turpentine.
Yeah.
It was, they put cups on trees,
Okay.
on pine trees,
Right.
and they had hacks, we chipped them trees and they run tar into the cups, and we dip them and put them in barrels.
Gotcha.
And that's the way I made a living way back there then. And it was kind of rough way back there then, We couldn't use the bathroom in Lake City. Now I take all them people on that truck and carry them uptown. If they had to go to the bathroom, I don't know really know where 5 Points is out from this side of Lake City. I'd have to take them to the woods, for us to use the bathroom. The men's go over here and the women's go over there.
Right.
Oh, it's kind of rough. I even hate to talk about it, but it was in the past. It was in the past. All that's past and gone now, We don't have to do that no more.
Right.
So I enjoy that too. That was a pleasure back then to have to do it, but it's better now.
Yes, sir.
So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it all. Yeah, I'm 88 now. And I'm still going, still working a little bit when I want to, I got a big garden over there at the house. Yeah, I still get around, thanks to the Lord.
So you're able to, you work in the garden and...
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I got a big garden, got chickens, got goats.
What else? What kind of vegetables? I mean, what's the full garden like? Sounds like
Well-
a farm.
Well, I did have corn. I got sweet potatoes. I got greens. Well, I did have peas, but they're all gone now. Now I got greens and I got sweet potatoes. The only thing I got growing right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I got sweet potatoes about that big right now.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm enjoying life now.
Nice.
Do you all the things in your garden? Obviously, you eat a lot of that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Those are all your meals.
Yeah, well, no, that ain't all me. No, I have meat. I buy meat and stuff. I had to buy all that. But far as my vegetables, I growed all that, okra and peas and beans and all that kind of stuff. I got all that, and I can all that myself.
You can it too.
Yeah, I can. My potatoes, my peas, my beans, my greens, I can all that stuff. I got pears that I canned about 13, 14 years ago. I still got them in the shed over there. I got the last syrup I made, I think it's been about 12 years ago. I ground my last round of syrup, cooked it. I still got some of that over at the house now. Yeah, I always was a fella, learned how from my dad how to take care of myself and live, you know. I tell young people today, they could put me out there in them woods out there, and I could live 3 or 4 months and never come to town. Just live right out there. There's plenty right out there in them woods for you to eat to live on.
Right.
So,
But people got to know what it is, you know.
can you tell us what some of those things
Oh
are?
Lord.
We might want to know in case we get stuck out in the woods.
I know.
Well, it's something out there they call palmetto berries. You can eat them. You can eat palmettos.
How do you prepare the palmetto berries?
Well, you have to cook them. But them palmettos now, if you got an axe, you can pull them and just eat them because they got a little long tender end on them, about that long. You can just pull them up and eat them, you know. And you can live really on palmettos. You can live on palmettos 3 or 4 months right out there in the woods. Now, I didn't get no education. My education was bad. My daddy, you heard me say earlier, that he hired me out to work when I was 9 years old. Well, when I got 12 years old, my daddy walked off and left us. And, but 3 of us children, me, my brother, and my sister, and my mama. So when they left, I taken over then because I was the older one, you know, and I just, where we was living at, the man accepted me to go to work, and I just went to work and supported them until my daddy came back, and I still was working. I didn't stop, so that's why I didn't get no education, because I had to stop and go to work. But thanks to the Lord for what little bit I did get. Ain't completely dumb, but oh Lord have mercy. This place right down here, the Springs. When I was a young man, we used to come over here to White Springs and just stand around. Let me see where I am now.
Spring house is over here.
Is it? Well, right wherever it is now. We would come over here, me and my family, and just walk around and watch people go down into that spring where the spring house is down. Some of them would come in there with pains in their arms, legs hurting, and all that kind of stuff. They just wade off down there in that spring. And when they come out, they'd be all right. They'd be done healed. I said, now you know this is something. But now, it's plumb dry. They say accidental cause it, I don't know. So accidental cut the stream that was coming from where it was coming from in the White Spring. Now it's dry. Nobody can be healed. That's bad. But I reckon it's good. It's done happen.
What about the river? Has the river changed in level?
Yes, ma'am. No water in it hardly now. And I remember when it stayed from half full to full. But it don't do that no more. I don't know why. You can wade across it now, but I remember when I was a boy, what I was, 9 years old. I remember that river getting low like that one time, and gators, vomits was coming from all out in the woods, you know, going to that river to try to find water. It was so dry. So that time is here now. Because I know it ain't no water hardly nowhere in the woods. Plus, the times now have done come to where they got ditches cut and all that, you know, just drain in different places, you know. That's why everywhere everything's so dry now. Ain't no water nowhere. I remember we getting out there in the road ditch and catch a mess of fish when it rains. Now you can't even find a fish when it rains. Can't even see a minnow, let alone finding a fish.
Have you
The store is, it represents so much in my life early on that it's kind of, it's just been always in the back of my mind to never see it be tore down. And that's what I've done for a living, is tear down stuff and scrap stuff. But when I was a child of 6, 7 years old, my grandfather in Tampa would put me on a Greyhound bus, and my other grandfather would pick me up in front of that store. And when I say pick me up, I don't mean pick me up in a car. I mean meet me there walking, and I would drag my suitcase out to his home, which was a couple miles out of town, and I would stay with him all summer. As I would get off, as we would turn the corner, approaching the store, I always got to sit right behind the driver. I would look at that store and I would always think, you know, I just came from a place where there's really tall buildings and a lot of concrete and nothing really that represented our heritage in my life like that store. And when I'd get off the bus, I'd want to stand there and look at it for a while, and always thinking to myself, well, you know, maybe one day I'll get that store. But anyway, I know that sounds far-fetched, but at 6. But as years go on, I would always come back here during the summer and work in tobacco and whatever else I could do around here to earn money to save for my school clothes. But this whole area has always meant so much to me, showing that if you truly want something, and you're willing to work for it, and you're willing to wait for it, then you can pretty well do about anything you want to do. And what I learned here in the summers was that everyone got along. There was no one grabbing the back of your shirt to look at a label, or making fun of you if you had if your tennis shoes were a little raggedy, or if you had holes in your jeans. Unlike in the city, you know, people kind of grade you from how good your bike was, or, you know, if your baseball glove was, you know, up to par and things of that nature. But the store, to me, is a part of our heritage that runs much deeper than anything that I've ever been involved in. It just, and I don't know how I could be so blessed and lucky to be able to do it, but just within the store, the architecture, the looking at the lumber. I mean, some of the joists are 24, 26, 28 feet long, one contiguous 2x6, and they're still in great shape. Had some repair before I got it, and we pretty well took that repair off and replaced it with the repair that fits the store more or less. But just being inside the store, looking at the architecture, knowing that the store was built with no electricity and no hydraulics, and you know the team unity it took to build something like that. I'm just overwhelmed. I can't imagine I can't imagine building it today. The focal point for me as a child coming here was, number one, to earn money, but the spring house was just, I mean, I thought about it all the way up here, you know.
Tell me about the spring house.
The spring house, I don't know if you've seen it or been to it.
I haven't yet.
It's a sulfur spring that literally bowled up out of the rocks there, and we as children, there was 4 floors and a flat the top floor, and then there was a roof. And as children, tourists would give us nickels and dimes and to dive off of that roof into the spring.
Wow.
And I can remember diving off of that roof and trying to go down in the spring, and the water was boiling up out of there, and you couldn't do it. Then as time goes on, the pressure got less and less and less. But then after some few years, and I don't remember times and dates as well as I should, they built, the spring was so crowded, till they built a pool outside. It was shaped like a kidney, and when you walk down there, the pool is still there. They just filled it up. But they charged the spring with the sulfur water, so it was, when we were kids, it was, now, we'd drink it and wear it and whatever else we could do to get next to it for health reasons, of course. But I always remember that everyone would work, everyone, men, women, and children would work in the fields, and I don't remember anybody griping or complaining about it. It was more or less a privilege to be able to get old enough to earn like $4 a day, and the younger children would hand tobacco underneath the shelters, and then when you got a little older and stronger, you were able to crop, which means go out into the field. And there's nothing that looks longer in the morning than a tobacco row. If you've never, especially when you have a pair of mules pulling a sled that goes through there, and the older, stronger kids could run through and pick the tobacco and go to the sled much quicker. And then, of course, being younger, I always tried to keep up with them. But I was glad when the day was over. But it was a good day. You got up early and you worked until noontime, what we call in this area dinner time. And then the ladies would cook a big meal for everyone, all the workers, and then we would go to the caretaker's home and eat dinner, and then we'd go back to work a couple of hours, and then it would be over. We all have to drink this water, and we all got to breathe the air. The flip side of that is, I don't want to say bad things about industry, because obviously we all need jobs. But I would just like to see industry and the environment work a little closer together, and look at the more long-term ramifications that using so much of our water has. People think about all the different things that we're going to need in the future, and water's, we're in a very, very vulnerable situation here with our water.
Yeah, that's what we've heard. And it seems to be a huge issue.
When I was a kid, that river was so swift. If you wanted to dive in it and swim across, you better run way upstream to get to where you were going.
Right.
And don't try to fight it. You better go with it, because it would take you places that would scare the heck out of you. And as I stated earlier, the spring was just boiling up out of there. You could not swim into it. It was just so. I'm just so blessed to be able to have seen it and been there. Now, when you look, I weep when I go there. It's just a hole with nothing coming out. Nothing coming out. And cigarette butts in it, and paper, and every time I go there, I sneak down in there and pick up all that stuff and get it out of there. But those guillotine style things in the back of it were designed not to let the water out. And you'll see that there was so much water coming out. If the river was too high, they would try to hold the water back so it wouldn't contribute so much to the river to add to the flooding.
Wow.
But then downriver from that was a place called Blue Sink. I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Heard about Blue Sink.
It again was just, couldn't swim in the hole, into the spring, because it was just boiling out of there. And those are things that we got to enjoy. And I hate it for our children and folks now that come here from other areas. I don't know what we would have to do to reverse it. Don't think we can. But to preserve what we have left would be and is my goal. I always tell folks, when I get through with the store, I'm going to start hammering on the spring house. The spring literally would revive this area. I'm told that there's a big well, a sulfur well, that's capped off adjacent to my store. And I've spoke to the mayor and other folks about me being able to get that well and maybe build another pool close to the store, or you know, of course, ideally what I'd like to do is get the spring house revitalized and to clean out that kidney-shaped pool. And I understand it'll take a lot of money and work, but I just think if people could see how it was, it would be such an asset to the community. Because if we could take somehow, and I'm not an engineer, and I'm certainly not a hydrologist. I'm just a person with love for a little town. So, but if we somehow could take that sulfur well and pipe that into the kidney-shaped pool, then, you know, children around here, you know, a certain segment of children didn't get to go in that spring. They didn't get to go in the pool, you know, for reasons that I'm not responsible for, and I just hate to go there because I lived and I've seen a lot of I've seen kids go through things that they shouldn't have to go through. You know, kid can't drink out of.
Right.
Some of my friends weren't able to drink out of the same water fountain as I was, but we got around that. We keep the store guy
It
busy.
seems like
you
it.
know.
That's what's interesting here.
It is, and I learned that here. I learned that all people are created equal.
What did you do when you were a kid?
When I was a kid, we had to work.
Where did you work?
We had to work. I worked in tobacco. I worked pulling deer tongue.
We just learned about deer tongue.
Yes, and I think I got some pictures on my camera, but Teddy bear said he had brought this
He
stuff
did,
down here.
yeah.
Well, we actually had to go out and pull this stuff out the woods. You know, we had to work. There was no such thing as a whole lot of play in my family.
Right.
There was a time that this man's wife had died. He was a white guy. His wife had died, and my mom was taking care of his kids. So she used to bring the kids to the house. So they grew up like our brothers.
Right.
You know, and there was this one time where Daddy got on one of the boys. He whipped his butt. So people was telling Dad in the city, you know, that's what you talking about way back in the 60s.
Yeah.
And people were saying, Daddy, you cannot beat those children. Daddy said, why? He said, because the white kids. Daddy said, well, if this white man did not want me to beat his children, he'd have kept them home. So, you know, they was raised up with us.
Like
you know,
as equals.
Right. We was like, but we didn't know the difference. And
Right.
I thank God that our parents sheltered us from that. But I was in Carver School. I graduated from kindergarten at that school.
Okay. Can you tell me anything about going to school there and what that was like and what that school meant to the community?
That school meant a lot to the community. I mean, kids. You know, when you look at the age group in this city, my age and up, you see a difference. You see a difference in education. It was more than teaching us writing, reading, and arithmetic. It taught us values in life. The teachers there, like Miss Sally Mae Reddix, Miss Mary Graham, Miss Sadie Turner, you know, Dorothy Bryant, those teachers taught us morals and standards. They taught the young ladies to be ladies. They taught us to respect ourselves. We would never starve because our parents taught us how to cook. They taught us how to survive. They taught us, now some of the things you might not want to eat, you might think is terrible, and no, because we know now if the economy gets bad enough, we know we can kill a rabbit and eat it. We know we can eat turtle. We know we can eat possum. We know we can eat coon. We know we can eat robins and quails because our parents taught us all of this stuff. You know.
For instance, right across the street over here, you'll see a concrete slab over there by the Muncie store. That used to be a hardware store. Years ago, it was called Hunt's. I wasn't sure what it was called in the early 70s. But I remember as a kid, early teens or before teenage years, my dad used to come down there and we'd get fertilizer. They'd come in on big old semis. It was bagged. It was coming on big semis. And as being farmers, we used to come bring our big trucks down there and have to unload them from semi to truck. And little as we were, instead of having to pick it up, we had to take it and drag it across the truck and stack it because it was so small. But that place there, It became, over the years, it was vacant, and then it became what they call Club 41, which is some people call a juke joint. I wasn't sure, but I don't hang around juke joints. But then in later years, I understand it caught fire and burnt down for unknown reasons, but the people don't want to talk about it. It's transformed quite a bit. So I was in set, when I came in the state of state, like I said, I was under Secretary of State. We used to have, we still have the Florida Folk Festival. We still have the Genie audition, which just finished up this past weekend.
What is that again?
Genie auditions.
The Genie auditions?
I Dream of Genie.
Oh.
Stephen Foster had a song of I Dream of Genie. And the song, pretty much they sang opera songs. Ain't what I call it Screaming Jimmy, but that's just my thoughts. But they sing high tone of voices. And when we first started doing it here, it was kind of cool because state DNR was never a part of it then. And when we had the Genie balls, we all had to wear suits and ties, which is kind of unique. We had this pond over there, which still got the pond, and they had wild ducks in it. Well, when these girls got to singing, ducks sat there and like, I don't know if they had ears or not, but they started hollering, just started all kind of racket. They'd come up, some of the girls come off the stage just crying their eyes out, Mom, them ducks messed me up. Well, I know it's been getting a lot hotter in the summer months. It's not, and we used to have wet winters, now we got dry winters. The spring house, so to speak, the flow of the water, it's pretty much dried up. The reason we made a change because the taxes went up. We're always in drought conditions because if you don't have a pivot, which is an irrigation pivot, if you don't have somebody to put water on something, you go out and prepare your farm, your land. You got to fertilize it. You got to cultivate it 2 or 3 times. You got to go in and get the weeds out of it, lay it by. But then it was drought conditions. So over all these years, fertilizer went up. No rain. So if you didn't have no rain, no pivots, so water out of the ground, you couldn't make a living with it. So they had to come out with something different. When my daddy retired, he was in the Korean War. He was a veteran of the Korean War, and did farming for years. Then he decided to, as he was farming, he was also a custom combiner. That's where people take a big combine or something, and you go from field to field. And people had these little fields of corn. They didn't have a combine. They just had tractor and they could do it. So you got people still do it today. We did that for a lot of years, from 73 to up to 95. But like the economy, your tags got so expensive. You had regular E-license, you had to go to a CDL, which that costs a lot of money. Your tags, you had to buy them 12 months a year, which we bought all these tags for these big trucks, which is expensive. And you didn't use them 3 times a month, 3 months out of the year. So that hurt you. Insurance, drought, everything far under the sun went up, and you couldn't make nothing off of it. By the time you figured in all your work, all your equipment use, all your fuel, they had to get out of it.
Doesn't make sense. Right.
So we get these big old inner tubes, take a door. Now this is kind of funny, you have to picture this. It's pretty neat. Take a big old door and put it on the inner tubes. You take one of these big old cast iron tubs, you see with the feet on it, stuck it on top of the board. The water current's going pretty good. But started off doing great. But we wasn't thinking ahead. When you got going down the creek bed, you got these trees that fall over in the water. Well, you can't get under in the water, it's flowing pretty fast, and all you do, the tub goes like this, and you're kind of out in the trees. If you can't duck, you're up in the trees, it was fun. I mean, until somebody got hurt. We had to go back later and fish out the tub.
I was going to say, it must have sank.
Oh, it sank like a rock.
Don't judge me by the color of my skin, but the content of my character. That's been mine. It's how I act and how I am. The color don't amount to anything. But what I love about White Springs, I've been to a lot of towns, halfway around the world. White Springs is a unique place. Ain't many people, but everybody know each other. And half of white around here claim McKenzie to me. I'm claiming I'm McKenzie to them now.
But has the river changed?
Oh yeah, it's lower than I ever seen since I've been here.
And has it been low for a long time, or is that a recent occurrence?
Sometimes in that spring house down there, where that spring house? Yeah, right down there. I see that river up over that spring house. It's just that high.
Wow.
But it's lower now. You can walk across it now in a lot of places. You won't get your feet wet in the rock. That's right.
What does Teddy Bear fish with?
Huh?
What does he fish with? What does he use for bait?
Mostly chicken liver.
Oh.
That's what they catch them catfish with. And then if you want to catch brim, you use them wigglers.
You use worms?
Oh yeah, worms. They call them wigglers.
Wigglers?
You dig them out the ground. You can't find them around here now.
So you used to be able to find the wigglers, but now you can't?
No, it's so dry, see?
Oh.
There's a place down there by the White House. I used to go in that ditch where it kind of wet at and dig wigglers. And the police woman was here. She told me, she said, next time she catch me digging in that ditch, she gonna give me a ticket.
For what?
This is throwing the city property.
Oh.
You don't want you to dig in the ditch.
Can you imagine how deep this is? That's what Mr. Miller was talking about, this thing on what he called Cuz. Look at that.
Wow.
And that just broke off. And this used to be way out there. Because you can see how big that hump there is to be broke off. And see right here, get this in right here. Pick this up. Pick this up? Yeah. Pick up them there. Look at them. Them is old sand dollars. Cool. Y'all need to get your
Really?
Yes, them sand dollars. And they coming. You see, if you see them, see that over the years, see them was all inside the rocks. You see them all here, how they popping out.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It's hard to believe this hill caved off that bad. You know, they look like some poured concrete, don't they?
Yeah.
And look at the, because of the water table low, and it's not pushing sand, I guess, up on the hill, cause that ain't been caved off that long. It was broke, but you can see the whiteness, ain't it? You see that channel was black count on that side, but this side just fell off here lately. I mean, the world is
And
deteriorating.
it's undercut, and there's nothing to hold. The water's not there to hold it up, and it just falls in.
And you know, you walk. Most of the time, you can be here, but most of the water stay here, or you be back up here. Because when the water come up, you look right now, you is what 5 feet, 6 feet above water. Cause a lot of time I fish right there. It's usually average stay right there where I can sit on top of that rock or can't get to that rock. Rain, shine, snow. When I'm so crippled, and I come. And I just sit right here and prop my rods up. And what's wrong with this?
Nothing. It's great.
I ain't got what worries I got? Nothing but a filter. And back in the day, what me and my dad had to be smart. Like I say, he was a very smart man. We ride the woods and look for this. And whenever he found this, especially when he was building roads and things, cutting like the Interstate 10, he found plenty of it. Especially in wetland like, this one used to be like wetland. The branch is right down the Summery branch. And he'll come and see this him. If you can smell it get stronger and stronger. That's that smell.
Yeah, I smell it.
What my dad would do, what you need to go ahead, let me show you need to do this too. When you say you pull this one. Okay. What you do, because most time your sight could be on your right shoulder. All depends, because now I can't bend over. You go there, and you see out here, you roll your hand around it, and go a little twist. Okay. My daddy would take it and shake it. If you're in a hurry, you won't, but see, that's clean. If not, when you get home, you got to go and pick all the straw out of it. But if you shake it like that, you'll be clean. You put it in a sight, and he will pick won't leave nail and leaf. And this way you'll make the money. Take it. Like when you get down and you pull, you want to get a good handful. You won't come up till you get ready to put it in the sight. And you want to get every piece Because if that's a dollar, see that spot? Why would you leave $1 laying there? Huh? If that's your money, why would you see how clean that spot? Even sometimes you want to go, but you don't want to sometimes worry about one piece. But you will. If it's gonna make your money better. Move over and you clean the spot. Sound like a horse eating. And you go out there, you spread it, and let the sun dry it. You let the sun dry it. Once it dry up like tobacco dry, you bag it, put it in a croaker site, tie it to site, the man come by and buy it. But it's a beautiful patch, I have here. And this is Blue Sink. Is the great used to be swimming hole. When we were swimming, none of this here. It was just straight country. I see somebody come fishing. It's a little green now. It ain't that bad.
It used to be crystal clear.
Crystal clear. And right here was the diving bowl. And that's what I was saying. You just come and walk right here. If you just stepped off right here, you see how deep you would go. Now, if the water was, most of the time, was right there at the bottom of this tree. So if you see now, you can tell that this is what? At least 15 feet deep, deeper than what it used to be. And when I was telling you up yonder, I dove out the tree, right down the tree, the nails, done with the ladders to go up. And right yonder where that tree yonder limb is, they had a rope from that one to that one. And you will swing where you get on, climb, you go there and climb up that tree and get right down that hump, and that's where you take your rope. And when you turn loose from there, you is shooting. You is shooting. Now, can you imagine yourself swinging? Huh? You is out there in it, man.
That's pretty far.
Hey, and see, even if the water was right yonder, and you on a rope from that high, how high you gonna be before you hit the water?
Pretty high.
Huh?
Pretty high.
And we doing some, man, all kind of swan dives, flipping. We had a great time here. We had a great time. See, you see a lot of people coming in fishing now. They got a lot of people want to pick up their trash. And this is one of the beautiful springs. Most of the time in our life, it stayed at the top of the bottom of that tree there. It stayed that high. Can you imagine anybody going to the bottom of that then? No. I mean, once you step off right there, I mean, you got to be able to swim. Ain't no walking no dang bottom here. Nowhere around. Like I was saying up yonder where I was at the amphitheater, I told you that hole was about big as where we was, and it is, because you can see yonder, all the water was most of where the base of the big tree at. Where the big tree, that's how the water mostly stayed around here. And it started flowed out, and it started pumped just a pretty, you see it just coming up.
How long has it been low like this?
This started dropping 10, 15 years ago, and it started getting lower and lower. Every now and then it'll come back up and flood. But we ain't had a flood in a while. But when it flood now, it don't necessarily go to pumping. It back up with red water. But back in the time, it used to pump and keep the red water. It had kept enough water for. And right now, the water seep through the bank because the water come through the bank now because the ground is so dry. Before it used to be this had enough water, this water table with him, that it was already seeping through the land. But now if the water rides fast, both water gonna intermeet, and most are gonna turn red like the river because of the low water table we got. And Swanee River is just about that low. What low on this side is low on that side. When you go to the river, that's about deep how you have to walk down to the river now. But I ain't gonna tell you the season.
I was trying to get the secret
I
recipe.
know you was. I ain't gonna tell you the season.